What's up, everybody? We're back with episode 2 of Success After Trauma and our 12-week series of Stepping Into Your Power. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com. We got co-host Mike Cimorelli here. Mike, how you doing today, brother?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good and I'm excited. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to set Mike on fire, but I meant this, Mike. I'm excited about today. We're talking about alter egos. And
That's a deep subject.
It's a deep subject. And I think that we're going to offer people, I have a perspective on alter egos. When we talk about alter egos, there can be away from energy. And what I realized through my life, my experiences, my exposures, and then all of the clients that I work with. In westernized cultures, at least, it may happen in other cultures, we do things like, and I had this realization, I was talking to my wife the other day, how we're not going to ask our son what he wants to be when he grows up. We start at a very, very young age asking our kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? How are you going to do that? What's your plan? How often do we ask our kids that? Holy shit, most people are 40 and don't know what they want to be when they grow up. And we're asking them at 5 years old? So what happens is there becomes a complex equivalence of I can't not know who I am. So we find an identity, the first one that we find in our life that seemed okay, and we marry the shit out of that identity. That identity is not who we are. And so we're wearing masks for all the different people, and then we go home and we feel hollow and empty inside. But here's what I want to share with you guys about alter egos. If everyone is important, no one's important. How I treat my wife is not how I treat my employees or my clients. How I treat my son is not how I treat my friends. So now who are you? Because we're afraid to create an alter ego because we're afraid of people. That's not who you are. Who the fuck gets to say who you are? And by the way, the only thing they're talking about, they're saying that's not what you've done in the past. And then we think we can't do something different because this is who we are. Well, you're not only this. If this is who you are, then that means I'm the same person with my child that I'm with my spouse, that I'm with my clients, that I'm with my employees. And that's not true. So when we talk about alter egos, and I first really learned about this in the book Relentless with Tim Grover. He's really a nobody. He trained people like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, if you've ever heard of them. And he talked about creating alter egos for them. So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Mariah Carey, and many, 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 many other icons that have created immense success have created alter egos for themselves, because Mariah Carey wasn't born. Who she is not a famous singer. That's what she does. She wasn't born. She didn't say, oh, my identity is I'm going to be a really, really famous singer. But she decided to create and live that identity. Mike, what's your thoughts on this, brother?
I had it on mute while I was typing there. You went straight into the Relentless, and I was like, wow. And so there is actually a 13 set of principles for the Relentless that talks about the three main, or his perceived three main alter egos that people have. And one of the things that I think is most noteworthy about what you just shared, that I'd like to tag onto that, is the limiting or accelerating principles within those alter egos. Okay.
Dude, tell me about them. Yeah. I gotta hear about
so
this.
Like your alter ego could be like a meek. It could be like, we were talking about someone who's very, very, very close to me earlier, just right before we jumped on this podcast. And her entire life was spent like not knowing who she was. Not only that, but her entire life was spent taking care of others. So her alter ego growing up was the nurturer.
So, and dude, let me and I just want to highlight that was her, dude. I love how you said that. That was her alter ego. But up until she had this breakthrough, she thought that's who she was.
Right.
Holy shit.
That's what she had to do.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, thank you. That's what she had to do with her life. And then so also when you were saying this, two alter egos came to my head that I had when I was younger. So the first one was the achiever. I didn't have and it's interesting because I probably did, but I perceived like I didn't have enough time with my mom. Like maybe she was in the office working too much or whatever. And so I would go through great lengths to do exciting things. So I could be like, Mom, look at this crazy shit that I just did. And like, we're talking, I was like 8 years old. I could jump a BMX bike, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet, like the tires in the air. Like an 8-year-old's only like that tall.
Yeah.
Or like I would build these wild things, like elaborate. I'd spend all day on, I don't know if you remember the erector sets,
Yeah.
which was
Yep.
like Legos on
Yep.
steroids.
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
actually have
Little
nuts and
cranes
bolts.
and stuff.
Oh, it was so sick. And you know what I mean? Like, and you can't like cheat and bend stuff because it never works. So like you have to just like, I mean, it's just like from ground up. And but my alter ego was like the builder, the achiever, and it progressed into the future. But I'll stop it right there. Those are not me. Those are just things
Boom.
that I took on.
Boom. Boom. Every part of who you are right now, every single one of you listening. If I asked you who you are, you'd probably only list things you've done in the past. And if you maintain that belief about who you are, then you're going to keep getting what you got in the past. Mike, I love it. You said those are not who I am. Those were things that, what was the word you chose? I adopted or that
That
I
I took on.
took on. Dude, what you're doing right now, you took on. You made the decision to be the person that you are right now. And the person that you know yourself to be right now is not the essence of you. It's what you do for a certain community, group, environment.
Yeah,
When
I'd
you,
actually like to add on.
go ahead, tell me. Yeah, yeah, put her on.
Sorry, it's what we do for a certain feeling.
Woo!
We do
For
it
a
for a
certain
feeling,
feeling.
and the feeling comes from that group or from the feeling is the thing behind the
100%.
thing. Um,
Bro, that's powerful. Dude, let me tag into that real quick. I love
yeah,
talking to people about this. So everything we do for self. Everything do for self. Someone out there's like, no, not me. Okay, maybe just that one person doesn't. Okay, listen, everything we do for self. If you're walking down the street in the middle of the night and a man or woman was down on their luck and asked you for money, and you reached in your pocket and you gave them even more than they asked for, and you walked away and you never told a single soul about it. You did it for the hit of dopamine you got. Here's how I know that to be true. If you gave that human money and walked away and felt like you were taken advantage of, you'd never do it again. There's no way in hell you're going to do it when you feel like you're being taken advantage of. But when it made you feel like a good person, that's not the essence of who you are. That's what you did for that community because of the way that community made you feel. That community may have been one person, but ultimately that one person was really just a representation of an entire community.
yeah. I remember one time I picked up a dude on a dark, foggy road at like 1 or 2 in the morning that was hitchhiking, like complete, like
What was your thoughts going through your head when you picked him up? You're like, fuck it, like what?
no. It was like I bet I could whoop this guy's ass if he tries to get into something.
So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
the guy
wanted like,
walking on the road was in danger, not you.
oh yeah. Oh, and like literally, dude. And I had like a 43 in my pocket, like right here. Like he had no idea. And the thing is, though, the guy looked like my interpretation of a sketchy dude.
Yeah.
And even though he did, I thought, okay, what if he's not? And I was like, shit, man, it's like cold outside. It's really late. He could be intoxicated, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and like, I don't know. I don't want him to get killed, but at the same time, like I remember one time I did the same thing. I picked up a dude, a businessman that was wasted, and he had crashed his brand new truck off the road. And I was coming home, I was like, oh my God, that guy's gonna get a DUI. So like I picked him up and I drove him back to his house and he thanked me. And dude, the guy like freaking did it again on a motorcycle and got really hurt. Like maybe he was supposed to actually get in trouble and learn from it. Anyway, the point is though, is the alter ego the feeling I was getting in my head was like, for the one, I was a savior. And then for the other one, it was like, I felt like I was challenging this dude almost. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but like I reframed it and I was like, yeah, I'm doing a really good thing. And I don't think I might have told like a female, like we were talking about privilege or whatever. Like, yeah, well, male privilege is actually not as glorious as it sounds. It's just about as good as being able to drive up on a, walk through a dark alley at night without like shitting a brick. And even then, most guys do shit a brick. They just don't admit it. You know what I mean?
we're
Like,
good at bluffing. We're better at poker.
which is our alter ego.
Right, right. Dude, thinking about alter ego. So let's talk about this. Right now, for all of you listen, if you want an alter ego with your spouse, if you want an alter ego at work, whatever it is, I want you to think about what does that person who, if you could be anyone at work, who would you be? And it could be someone you know, someone that existed in the past. It might be someone that's fictional, a character, or it may be someone that never, you may create them from ground up. And you might say, I'm someone that's very, um, I'm very team orientated, right? That's the part, right? And then what does team orientated mean? If you're not sure, if you know, then you know what that means for you. If you don't know, look it up. How does that person do that thing? And then go out and do those things. Everything you do is your behavior. That's what you do. Go out
Oh,
and do those
100%.
things. Now you're afraid of doing them because people are going to say, you said you believe in teamwork, but every time I go over to your house, you're selfish. I believe in teamwork at work. You don't have to come over my house.
True. Greg, what are some good examples of like the most magnified alter ego? The first one I could think about is like when someone meets someone for a first date or something like that. You're meeting their representative, which is what I call it, but you're meeting their alter ego. Not always. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah, no,
everybody
no, no.
does
I'm
that.
with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. And well, you know what, dude? I'm glad you brought that up because that's worth. Let's talk about it, right? And I don't know, and let's just talk about it. So I agree with you that as an alter ego, I guess I do. When you said that's their alter ego, I first I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I was like, no, that's not their alter ego. But as I thought about, it, I was like, well, I guess that is. Um, Something I want to highlight because that was brought up is when I talk about your alter ego, I'm talking about who are you at work every day.
Sure.
I'm not referencing how do you act a certain way to get something from someone. I don't know if anyone's ever done that on dates. I haven't fucking dated in a really, 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 really long time. But nonetheless, when I talk about alter egos, I'm talking about creating who you will be in each different arena of your life. Who are you as a father? Who do you know? Who in your life has been some type, even if they weren't directly to you, even if you just witnessed them to other, who in your life is an amazing father figure? And what is it that they do? You can do whatever they do. It's a process in NLP, it's called a process of modeling. You're only
Yes.
modeling right now anyway, but you've been modeling what you're modeling so long that you're comfortable with saying that's who you are. Nope, that's just what you adopted for now, or as long as you choose
Yeah.
to
In
keep it.
fact, you took the words out of my mouth. When I was thinking about a better example, the word modeling came to mind. And then how about when you show up at work, right? You touched on that real quick. I'll just give a vulnerable example. When I used to get a new job in sales, I would show up as the most successful person. And let me tell you why it helped, and let me tell you why it hurt. Okay, so the alter ego was like, yeah, and I would leverage whatever that thing was, like, oh, I just moved here from Malibu or whatever, like, and they're like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? Or whatever, right? Okay. And there's a lot of different people that live in Malibu. Like not everyone there is like super rich. Some people have been handed down homes since the 50s when they were purchased for $12,000. You know what I mean? Surf bums to billionaires will
Yeah.
go out and sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya at the waves in the morning at Zuma Beach, or maybe not Zuma Beach, but like First Point and Surfrider. Point is, I used different elements and nice clothing to look like I was already successful. And so what I was attempting to do was model the successful. What I
And in
missed
your
out
model
on,
of the world, modeling successful was so when you looked at what is a successful person in your model of the world, just based upon what we said so far, there was programming in your mind that successful people in this arena dress nicely.
yes, and let me tell you where it hurt me. People didn't feel the need to help me because I looked like I already had what I was actually looking for.
Mm.
I off-put people by adopting that ego.
So let's talk about it. What's the next step? I mean, I'd love to ask you let's just go there. How did it play out for you?
Okay, so it played out where I ended up hurting myself so that I could humble myself, so that I could have an excuse to become authentic.
Okay. Okay.
My
Um,
unconscious mind
what
wanted
is
to be
authentic? Because what I'm actually suggesting here, what is authentic? Because what I'm
just
actually,
it's more
what I'm
like
suggesting is that there is no authentic. Is what I'm suggesting. Like authentic, the only authentic that I know to be true is actually acting like the person that I know that I want to be.
I mean, I get that. And I would
And
say that like if you're modeling a certain thing that's not actually what you are, right? Then it's kind of like inauthentic.
it's never what you are. It's not. That's my topic of today. It's never what you are because you don't know who you are. Now, someone could sit in front of me and say, "I know who I am,
Okay.
Greg," and I'd say, "Fine," but I'm saying it's never who you are. At all times, you're adopting another alter ego. The ones that don't work for you, get rid of them. You identified, you went on to something else. But what I'm suggesting is there's no actual true pure place of the essence of who we are, because if there was, money wouldn't be involved. But all of us
So
kind of need money to get through in the world. So then we have to operate a certain kind of way because as beings, as the pure essence of beings that we are, nothing about us requires money. But to exist in today's 3D world, we need money.
so kids, what he's saying is money is the root of all ego. I mean evil. I'm kidding. Greg, let me nail that just for a second. What I experienced was the download I'm getting right now is, had I been of a humble nature and said, "Hey guys, I'm new at this and I really want to learn," somebody would have taken me on. I would have connected with that mentor, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would have got what it would have actually taken to be what I was trying to look like.
Yep.
So I guess that's what it was. And that still would have been an alter ego, which is I'm a salesman or I'm this or I'm that. But it would have been I am of a humble heart.
Bingo.
And I would love to help you and provide value to whatever you're doing. Like, say you don't want to run back to the car lot and wash those. Hey, let me wash those for you. Could you give me some tips on this follow up thing that I see you doing?
And the reason why I call it an alter ego because a human being literally could assume the alter ego of someone successful and then go out and create that. They could whether they
Sure.
do or not, fine. The equal truth is someone could assume the role of humility and say, "Hey, I don't know and I would like to be guided," and they could succeed with that. But either one, like, there's no actual right way. Like, the message that gets projected sometimes is like, humble yourself. Well, there's a place and a time to fucking humble yourself. Stand in your power. Well, there's a place and a time to stand in your power. Even when you're not truly sure of your power, you still need to stand in your power. Do we always just stand in our power? No. Do we always just humble ourselves and be meek? No. And that's the essence of what I want to share with you guys today is be willing to be flexible. You don't actually know who you are. What alter ego best benefits you in this situation? The one that benefit you, Mike, at that time was the one where you allowed yourself to be humble, allowed yourself to be, because it's not who you are, allowed yourself to be. I can allow myself to come to your house. I don't live at your house. Or you can allow me to come to your house. I don't live at your house. I can allow myself to come there. You can allow me to come there. Yeah, what's your thoughts, feedback on that?
Um, I mean, that's actually really deep.
I know I got deep on everybody quick. I know.
Well, yeah. I so now I'm thinking like, is this an alter ego or what? But I'm just I'm of a very like I'm of a pretty solid belief that um the moment you say you know is the moment you decide to shut the doors of knowing more in that direction,
I
right?
love it. I'm
And
on board.
in internally speaking. So when I'm talking about humble, I'm simply saying that's a power move for me. It's like, hey, my learning gates are going to be open. Hey man, like I love when people say a word that I'm not familiar with. I like to ask them what do you mean by that? And they're like, oh, this person's not going to be like everyone else that doesn't know that word and just pretends they know. And like, yeah, if you understand the language that you speak at all and someone drops a word in that you're not quite sure what it means, right? you can pretty much pick up where the trail of the conversation is going. And so you could pretend, okay, but you're not learning. And I like to learn those different things. And part of that comes from being humble. And how I've perceived it in the past was, oh, if I don't know that word, then, my vocabulary is inferior to this person's. And so how I've understood that now is, if I learn that person's vocabulary, my vocabulary will be great.
Yeah,
And
I love it. Good reframing, complex
and
equivalence.
then
Yeah.
people love to teach. It's just like people love to stop and help people because it gives them a hit of dopamine. And so when I'm like, hey, Greg, what does that word mean? Or you're like, hey, Mike, like, what did you mean by that? And I get a chance to explain, like, oh, I get to give you a word. To me, it's like a gift because it's a clearer or a alternative way to articulate.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. And I love, yeah, everything you said, I doubled down on. So I don't know. So when we talk about authenticity, so when we talk about humility, Greg, I am capable of doing humility. I'm not humble. Greg, am capable of doing ego. I'm not my ego. Greg, am capable of high level sales and negotiations. I'm not sales and negotiations. But I have an alter ego for sales and negotiations. I have an alter ego so that I know how to do humility. I have an alter ego so I know how to do ego.
A
For everyone
program.
that thinks they need to get rid of all their ego, I'm going to suggest without ego, we're not going to have pride in our work because who am I to do better?
I mean,
I
I
think
think
ego
even,
serves a purpose.
yeah, I don't think your ego is going anywhere.
That's
I don't think it's possible to get rid of your ego unless you fry your brain with some sort of like
a
peyote
good
or
point. Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. That's actually a
Uh,
good point because in that place, you might be able to. Yeah.
You might, but I'm
Might.
not
And I
gonna
don't, yeah, good
try
point.
it. I'm
I'm not
not
going to
gonna
try it
try
though.
it. You know
So
what I
listen,
mean?
one thing that I want to highlight to everyone, this is from Greg's point of view, right? So take what you want and reject what you don't like. When we talk about authenticity, right? I freak people out when I talk about how flexible I am. So I'm like, well, how do I when we talk about authenticity, the authenticity of Greg, the transparency of Greg is telling you right now today on the podcast, the transparency of Greg is I have no fucking clue who I am. That's the authenticity of Greg. And because I have no clue who I am, I do this thing in this arena and I'll change it as soon as it doesn't serve me or my community. Now I'm not married to shit. I'm allowed to evolve. I'm allowed to change. I'm allowed to grow. How many times when we go for change, well, I can't do that because, and it's tied to something that's the old you. So you can't become the new you because it's tied to the old you. And as long as you keep that cycle up, you'll stay in that cycle. I believe, in my model of the world, Greg thinks that I'm very authentic. My authenticity is being very bold in the fact that I have no clue who I am. And maybe I'll learn before I exit this world, or maybe I'll exit to this world and then learn, or maybe we'll never learn exactly who we are. But I'll go forth on the journey and continue to allow myself to learn new things. Much like you said, Mike. Instead of saying what I know, I'm telling you I have no clue who I am. And because I have no clue who I am, I must search for more alter egos to see which one serves me best.
It's interesting if you say alter ego, and you mentioned this earlier. That's something that most, I wouldn't, maybe not most, but a large amount of people will get, defensive over
Oh,
alter
yeah.
ego. And if you don't understand, you don't understand. And if you don't understand that you don't understand, there's no way you could possibly know that you don't know that you're actually modeling different things all the time. And when you're modeling different
Powerful.
things all the time, then who are you?
Everyone that just, dude, you spoke quickly. Everyone that just, if you like rewind and listen to what Mike just said, every word of what he just said, there was a lot of power in what you just said. If you don't know, then you can't even be aware that you're doing it right now.
Right.
That's powerful, brother.
Right. Another thing is like, Napoleon Hill talked a lot about the ego and the alter ego in his book Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And Think and Grow Rich is an excellent addition to his better work, or different, more complete work, The Laws of Success, which is something I actually believe, like, I usually think like, hey, pick your poison, listen to it, read it. I actually think this is one you should listen to it and read it, like physically. You should do both visually and auditory, because this work is so powerful. The point is,
It is. It is.
Napoleon Hill talks in depth about getting into the alter ego state of those he's looking to model. So this is a step further. It's like,
Boom.
okay, my alter ego is this, the closer, right? The hardcore closer, like Ryan Stewman. The hardcore closer is probably his alter ego at one point, he or still is. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm the fucking hardcore closer. Because you know what? That's a character. It's like an avatar.
Right.
So
That's not the
Napoleon,
fucking essence of Ryan. That guy's hurting
right.
inside.
I bet you
Somebody
he,
tag him on this.
I bet you he is a freaking loving father to those little kids. And at the same time, he is a badass negotiator. And then he looks like he does some sort of MMA. I think I've seen some stuff like that. He can probably throw down, or at least he thinks he can, or maybe he can really well. But anyway, all those different things are the different egos. But Napoleon Hill, though, takes it deeper. He says to get into another person's alter ego. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, so in other words, to meditate and get into a state where you are encompassing their ego. And then you have a conversation between yourself and that ego. And literally, like, through like spiritual energy and the programming that you've had throughout your life, you can have that. And then you can use those things.
For everyone that because that got a little abstract, right? So for the people that started drifting on us, nothing ever created by human was ever created before it was imagined, ever. Some of you were just like, "What, Mike? Are you really saying that?" Hey, try playing with your imagination. Imagination is more important than education. There is a cap on how much you can remember. There is unlimited potential to what you can imagine. You can only know what you know. You can imagine anything. And nothing gets created before it's imagined. So if just imagining you're having a conversation with someone else's alter ego is a little bit too abstract for you, try, see what happens. Mike, what do you got? Yeah, give us final. I'm about to wrap us up, and
yeah, nothing gets
dude, this was a killer
before...
episode, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me give it a metaphor for that.
Please.
Jim Rohn, I've listened to this thing over and over, really powerful, but Jim Rohn talks about this, so I'm just going to go ahead and paraphrase it. When do you build a hotel? And the answer is after it's finished. And you might say, how do you finish a hotel before you start? And then you might think, oh, well, I can't just go out to a lot that I haven't purchased and start laying bricks down when I don't know how strong the foundation will be or the soil underneath it will be. And if I don't have a plan for where I'm going to put the plumbing, then I'm going to have to tear it back down. And then what about the electrical? And the point is, you can get very detailed in this. But once you figure out that the plan has to come from somewhere, and the plan is not going to write itself. And so therefore it comes out of imagination. And imagination literally creates tangible objects in the future. And in the future, when those tangible objects are created, then they reverse engineer, if you allow them. And that's where the magic happens, ladies and gentlemen. But dude, what I'm saying is then boom, you start building the hotel after it's finished. So it's finished in the future timeline. And then so that timeline includes drawing the plans, getting the engineering, buying the lot, getting the financing, putting the bricks down, adding all the other things, painting it, and then moving the people in.
Bro, I love that. How are we gonna know? How are we gonna know how to become the person we want to be if we don't know what the finished person is?
Oh, feel the only thing, and that's funny because you can answer that or you cannot, but feelings are the only thing you can really go off of. And I hated this until recently because I am so in my head with logic and my conscious logic and just, okay, Mike, like it's almost to the point where we can get so smart that we miss out on the bigger purpose, which is actually not a purpose, it's a feeling. And so how do we know, like, how do I answer that question? You just have to go with your gut.
Boom. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. All right, Mike, I appreciate it. So let me tell you guys, 2012, I read a book called The 1 Minute Manager. It's a decent book to read, and I'm not sure why I had the downloads, but I went into work the next day. You can read this book in like half hour, hour. I went into work the next day and I let everyone know that Greg had no idea. He had no clue what was going on. This guy was lost, so I fired him, and I'll be in charge. If you guys need anything from Greg, you can reach out to me. 2012 was when I created my alter ego. It has been one of the absolute best things that I've ever done. I appreciate everyone listening today. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you check us out. Download us on your favorite podcast streaming platform. And if you're listening to us via audio, check us out on YouTube. It's Success After Trauma. And be
Yeah,
great.
bitches.
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing. I love to hear any comments, questions, concerns, or additional thoughts to anything that we say on here. Guys, this is not for us as much as it is for us, but also for you and us. We want to grow, and Greg he's agreeing with this. I know him. We are wanting to build and grow and learn with you and with each other. Like, we're building this community of people that want to get out there and really dive into themselves and dive into their community and kick ass, but also heal and discover and let's be like. So anyway, if you have any thoughts or questions, like, shoot them down in the comments, email one of us, reach out. Let's continue this. And if you have questions that you want to hear answers from us on any of these episodes, please let us know. We would love to jump into that.
Awesome. We'll catch you guys next week. Until then, step into your power. Be great. It's already in you. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.